Hello, I'm Evangelina Fuentes, and this is my video speech presentation. So let the stress begin. My topic is on stress. So what can I tell you about stress that you haven't already heard or do not already know? Well, as a professional nurse, I have experienced firsthand the complications, both physical and psychological, that stress can cause. So I'm hoping to shed some light on that for you, something that's maybe you have not already known, or some facts that you have not known. Also, I'm hoping to help you identify ways that you can best cope with stress and to identify what kind of person you are, the personality traits that you have that help you or hinder your coping with stress. So let's start. What is stress? I kind of identified that in my introduction. What is stress? It can be physical, emotional, anything that happens to us, something someone said, did, something you saw, something you experienced, anything that causes us to emotionally be affected by that. Can stress be bad? Usually when we hear about stress, yes. Can it be damaging? Yes. Stress actually can kill, as they say, due to the fact that it causes a lot of physiological illnesses. However, one thing people don't think on a lot is stress can also be good. We can learn from it. We can move on and overcome. There's positive parts to stress as well as the negative. Take, for example, our current president, Barack Obama. On my PowerPoint presentation, you will see a picture of him. Some of you may have seen it in the news before. A picture of him right before the presidency and now currently during the presidency. And you could see how stress has physically changed his appearance. In our daily lives, whether at home with our families, at work, in school, we all experience some kind of stress. And it's up to us how we manage that stress. But how do we manage it if we don't know? And if we don't realize how we are really acting towards the stress? This is what I'm hoping to help to give you information on. So the kind of damages it does. I work in an intensive care unit. I see lots and lots of cardiovascular disease. I see people come in with heart disease in different stages, different amounts. So many people neglect their health just because they're so stressed and so overwhelmed with everything going on at home, at work. They just never have the time to go to the doctor until they physically feel ill enough where they cannot take it and end up being hospitalized. And unfortunately, many times, for some people, it may be too late. So, negative stress, anything that causes negative stress, that affects you in a negative way, causing the stress, has been known to increase glucocortisol levels, which is known as the stress hormone. Now, this stress hormone also increases the chance of you gaining weight. So with gaining weight, then you get the hypertension, the high blood pressure. You could get hyperlipidemia, which is elevated cholesterol. There's a lot of things that come in with weight gain, including diabetes. There's a long list, and I'm sure I won't bore you with all the details. You may have heard them multiple times in media about stress and the negative factors of that. Positive stress. What is positive stress? Something, it depends on your outlook of it. Something that you're confronted with and you take it in a positive way and you say, you know what, I'm going to learn from this experience and I'm going to do better the next time around. So when we experience this positive stress, it increases our dopamine, which is our feel-good hormone. It helps us to feel better. Antidepressant medications increase dopamine. Why do we need to take antidepressants if we can naturally increase this dopamine on our own? Well, obviously, if people are mentally ill, they need it. But if we can naturally increase this by giving ourselves more positive events and looking at stress in a positive way, perhaps we can help that dopamine increase, that feel-good hormone. Psychologically, obviously, if we're stressed, we're not going to sleep well. We're going to be anxious. We're going to be depressed. So what are these personality traits that you can identify with? How do you cope? There, according to Beringer and Orbis, if you look on my PowerPoint, I've referenced these authors along with a few other authors. They identify two personality traits. The problem-focused personality trait is more open-minded, agreeable. They're they're a problem solver, and they master any situation that they're faced with. They tend to plan and reframe things and see things in a positive outlook. However, emotional. Just because you're an emotional coper doesn't mean bad. It's just how you deal with things that come at you. You can attempt to reduce a negative feeling by perhaps using humor to lessen, to help you develop acceptance of a negative issue that may have occurred. However, people sometimes may judge this badly if they say you have a sick sense of humor. So maybe not to the extreme, but just trying to help yourself accept something that may be going on. You're going to help yourself accept it by using humor. But the bad parts to emotional coping is when we withdraw and we avoid the actual situation and never face it, or become substance abuse users. Alcohol, smoking, drugs, those are definitely some negative outlooks onto coping. Page 50 in our textbook does talk about the stages of intercultural sensitivity, and I think this really kind of helps us to identify where we stand in different situations, whether we're in denial or defensive about something. Take a look at that page, and you could kind of utilize it in thinking where you sit as far as being how you cope. So, what do we do to help us manage this stress? Well, first, we should see who we are. Help us identify this coping mechanism the personality trait, I should say, in lesser words. Identify what this personality trait is that we mainly use. Do we withdraw? Do we avoid? Do we overcome? Are we taking stress as positive, or are we taking it as negative? Find out what that stress is. Identify the stress in our lives and prioritize. We can't take the world on at once. Prioritize. Find out what's important to you now, what you can do about it now. If you can't do anything about it right now, right this moment, put it on the back burner. Deal with it when you can. Improve our communication skills. Our entire lecture so far has been about ways to improve communication. We improve communications with other people that will help us to cope better. And set realistic goals. A lot of us have such obscene goals that are just unreasonable for ourselves. Set reasonable goals. And all the other ones that we've probably heard of a lot of times. Be healthy, eat right, sleep, exercise, be spiritual. Look to prayer. Whatever your beliefs are, meditation, anything to help you get rid of those negative feelings. And if we could increase those positive events, the positive stress, to increase the dopamine, look at things in a positive outlook instead of negative. Don't be so condescending, and try to be more adaptable to things. Life is about change. Many of us are creatures of habits, but change is a part of life. So I will end with a few quotes. Being in control of your life and having realistic expectations about your day-to-day challenges are keys to stress management. When you're dealing with stress, the problem may not be the stressful situation as much as the effort to avoid that situation and the feelings it arouses. So, in conclusion, I hope that I helped you to identify some personality traits, or how to figure out the kind of personality traits you may have when dealing with stress. And I hope I helped you to find a few ways to help you better manage stress. Now, stress does kill. stress does stress us out. But in order to get over and overcome stress, we must face it. And why not do so positively? Thank you for your time.